We live in a world of data. It's being crunched in the background of everything we do. Its protection, therefore, is important. Charities collect special category data like financial or medical. They then need to manage it.
Yeah, as a regulator, we recognise the importance of charities in Gibraltar. We recognise what they give back to society, and often this is done with little resource, both financial and human. So we felt what better way to give back than to provide a free workshop. Obviously, Kusuma Trust has funded this, and we're very grateful to them for having done so, because it means that it could go ahead as a free event for charities.
Data can sometimes be seen as a challenge for a lot of people, for businesses, for charities as well. How seriously do you think people do take it?
I don't know how seriously they do take it, but I think a lot of the times when it impacts them is when they tend to take it more seriously, which shouldn't be the case. So obviously, as an organization processing data, you need to deal with it in a way that you'd expect your data to be dealt with and adequately protected. There's a lot of harm that can come from a breach of data protection. So, for example, it could be financial, it could be psychological through distress if your data is lost, and even physical at times, for example, if medical data is inaccurate.
Charities, of course, rely on reputation, as people would be reluctant to part with their money otherwise. There also has to be a relationship of trust, especially when dealing with those feeling particularly vulnerable. In the case of Childline, this is magnified by the fact that it's dealing with youngsters. Keeping up to speed with regulation is crucial, but can be challenging.
It is very challenging, and that's why we're so grateful to become part of this workshop today, because we are very mindful of the fact that we do hold some sensitive information for children, for families, and it's our utmost responsibility to safeguard that and keep it confidential and secure. And this chance is a great opportunity for us to sit down and reflect and make sure that we're keeping the highest standards of data protection at Childline.
John Paul, how hard is it to keep to data protection standards? Perhaps for the GBC Open Day easier because you're part of a wider umbrella?
I appreciate the fact that GBC has more resources available to it to help adhere to data protection as much as possible. It is a very important, highly responsible situation, issue that we take very seriously, and we do try to adhere to best practice as best as possible. But I do accept that GBC, being a statutory body with resources, it makes it easier for us to at least try our absolute utmost to stick within guidelines.
The importance of data protection is something that you notice when you've done something wrong. How important do you think these workshops are?
They're very important, and especially for the charity and NGO sector, because it's not something which is our day-to-day. So we will, are likely to make a mistake if we're not aware of the latest legislation, of what we're supposed to do, what our requirements are. So for us, it's really good to be a refresher to think, okay, what do I need to go back and look at it within our practices?
And is data protection harder in a small jurisdiction like ours, where everyone knows each other?
I don't think so, because the law is actually quite flexible. It's not sort of rigid or regimented. Yes, obviously the law applies to everyone, but what we expect of a small local charity would not be what would be expected from a large multinational organization. However, in saying that, if, for example, your bank details are stolen from a large multinational, it would have the same effect on you as if they're stolen from a small local organization. So at the end of the day, we need to look at the risks and the harm, and it can come from a small organization just as much as a large one.
The GRA has an enquiries line and is happy to give a steer to anyone wanting advice on data protection.